Hare Krishna. You've all heard of Udupi before, right? Even though it's the first time you've come here. How many of you have heard of Udupi before this? Before the topic of you visiting Udupi came up? Okay. You know what Udupi is most famous for? Yeah, we would like to think Krishna, Madhavacharya, yes, and some of the famous temples, Parashurama. But it so happens that what Udupi is most famous for are the restaurants. And specifically the dosa. All over India and even outside, you will find many Udupi restaurants. So it's like a brand name, you know. So just like you have these photocopying machines and you call them Xerox machines because that's the company that made them. So photocopying machines can be of different types, different companies make them, but Xerox has become a brand name. So any photocopying machine, you say, let me Xerox this and get it for you. So similarly, Udupi restaurants have become a brand name. And especially if you go to Mumbai, you will see thousands of Udupi restaurants. So, and specifically, they are famous for their idlis, their medu vada. Have you had that yet so far? You had them, right? Otherwise, we would say 50% of your life is wasted. If you haven't had the dosas and medu vadas and the idlis of Udupi, especially the dosas. And the dosas, the ones that are crispy and very thin, not the thick dosas, the very thin ones, very crispy, and with the spicy sambar and the chutney. Maybe you'll have to tell them to spice down the sambar a bit, but the chutney is okay. So that's what Udupi is somehow become very famous for. And incidentally, then there's Krishna temple, there is. But of course, for devotees of Krishna, Krishna is the foremost. The reason for coming to Udupi is for the temple here, or rather the temples here, and also because it's so intimately connected to Madhavacharya. We'll hear about Madhavacharya. So as I was coming, I was making some notes about the glories of this place. It's been a little busy for me as well. We had a wedding ceremony of some devotees yesterday and I had to speak there. We were traveling all day yesterday. Then we came to another place where there was some programs, some auditorium programs, meeting devotees and so on. Then we came here. But in any case, it's this whole region actually. I think you're familiar somewhat with the geography of India now, yes? So the southern part of India, the western coast, is where we are on now. So you've heard of Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip of the Indian peninsula. And that's famous because Durga Devi is there. That's Durga Devi's place. So all the way from Kanyakumari in the southern tip of India, going up to Mumbai, and a little further north, a place called Thane, which is part of Mumbai. That whole strip of land is called Parashurama Kshetra. It was reclaimed by Parashurama from the sea. You all heard of Parashurama. Yes, everyone is familiar with Parashurama. He is one of the incarnations of Lord Krishna. He is a Shaktyavesh Avatar. Now you know that there are different types of incarnations of Krishna as described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And one of the 6 types of incarnations is the Shaktyavesh avatars. Those avatars who are generally not Vishnu Tattva, although Ananta can be said to be Vishnu Tattva, but the rest are Jiva Tattvas. But they have been imparted or imbued with certain specific potencies or Shaktis. Extraordinary Shaktis have been gifted to them by the Supreme Lord. So they are called Shakti Avesh. Avesh means to enter. So within them has entered a very specific, powerful potency of the Supreme Lord. So they are called Shaktyavesh Avatar. And the different Shaktyavesh avatars are empowered by different types of potencies to perform different types of functions. For example, Narad Muni is also a Jiva, but he's got the Shakti of Bhakti, Bhakti Shakti. Prithu Maharaj is also a Shaktyavesh avatar, Prajapalana Shakti, so he can look after and protect the people, the population of this world, the citizens. The 4 Kumaras, they have the Jnana Shakti, they are endowed with the Shakti of knowledge. So there are many such Shaktyavesh avatars. Similarly, Parashuram, he is specifically endowed with the potency of subduing the mischievous elements or the asuric elements. Dushta Damana Shakti. That Shakti by which he can daman or subdue Dushta, those who are demoniac. So Parashuram has this power. Very powerful. So you must have heard, I'm sure, many pastimes of Lord Parashuram so far. I mean, in your devotional life. Not necessarily in this visit, but in the manner you must have heard about Parashuram. So Parashuram, he is most well known for having subdued or driven away the Kshatriyas and killed many of them, because they had become very arrogant and they had become a burden on the earth, and they had caused a great offense to Parashuram personally because of some pastimes, and the father, the mother, the cow. So there are many such pastimes, we won't go into that now. So anyway, Parashuram was furious with the Kshatriyas and their wrongdoings. So he exterminated them many, many times over, 21 times over. And that's why the Kshatriyas fled all over the world. So whether it's in Europe or Middle East, Turkey, Iran, even Greece and other parts of Europe, they were all the Kshatriyas who had fled from here, fearing Parashuram. So then after this job was done, Parashuram thought that he would like to now focus on his real Brahmanical duty, which was to do his meditation. So he was meditating on Lord Shiva. And then Lord Shiva asked him to go into a particular place called Kadali Vana. Kadali means banana actually in Sanskrit. So then he went there. But then when he reached this general region, he found that there was no land here. It was all ocean. So the place where he was supposed to do his meditation was all water. So he thought, what to do now? So he spoke with the deity of the ocean, Varuna. He said, please give me some space here, because Lord Shiva has asked me to come here and do my meditation here. So Varuna was in a different mood that day perhaps. So he somehow didn't fulfill the wishes of Parashuram. So Parashuram then got a little angry. He took out his axe. The axe in Sanskrit is called Parashu, which is incidentally why he got that name, Parashuram. His name was originally Ram, So there are several famous Rams. We have 3 specific Rams. Lord Ram of Ayodhya, and Balaram is also called Ram. You went to his temple yesterday in Malpe on the beach. And then Parashuram, that Ram who is a son of Jamadagni and Renuka, and who wields the axe or the parashu. So because he used this axe to exterminate the deviant Kshatriyas, he got that prefix Parashu before his name. So he became Parashuram. So then once again there was occasion to use that Parashu. And then he used that and he struck it, he threw it into the sea. And because of that, the water receded and this land emerged that had formerly been submerged by the ocean. So this entire strip of land, as I mentioned, from Kanyakumari going all the way up to Mumbai and a little further north, was all reclaimed from the sea by Parashuram. So I think many parts of the world, there's lots of reclaimed lands, right? I think a lot of Netherlands is reclaimed. Am I right? Anyone from Netherlands here who's been to the Netherlands? So a significant portion of Netherlands has been reclaimed from the sea, land filled, right? So it's following in the footsteps of Parashuram. Even Mumbai, a lot of Mumbai has been reclaimed from the ocean by land filling in certain, now they have that technology to do all this. So Parashuram didn't need that technology, his axe was sufficient. So this whole region is considered very pious. And Udupi is right in the center. This whole region where we are sitting now is practically in the center of this, equidistant from the 2 corners of Parashuram Kshetra. So now there was a problem. The land was reclaimed, but the land was formerly under the ocean. And what is the quality of the water of the ocean, of the sea? It's salty. So therefore, when this land emerged, it was also very saline. And when the land is salty, then you can't grow anything on it. So what to do now? It's barren land because it's become so salty. So then Parashuram requested Vasuki, who was the head of the Nagas, the snakes. You know, there's a whole Naga Loka. There's a whole planet where Nagas reside, but they're not like ordinary snakes that we see. You know, those Nagas are very special beings. They're actually of a higher order, even higher than human beings. So anyway, we have these Nagas, but they have snakes. So all over the world, you have all these legends about mermaids and all that, even in Europe. Am I right? You have mermaids. These are all Naga ladies, somehow who must have been there in the traditions and folklore of different lands all over the world, including in Europe. So these Nagas, they have venom because they're snakes. They have poison. So Parashuram called Vasuki and he said, look, this is the problem here. This land has become very saline due to having been submerged by the sea for many years. So it's no good for agriculture, for growth of trees and plants and so on. So why don't you neutralize the salty effect, the presence of salt here in this land with your poison? So then they used their poison and neutralized the effect of the salt. So the salinity of the soil was reversed and it became very fertile soil. So one of the things you might have noticed, or you would definitely have noticed, is that there is so much greenery around here. So many trees and plants. It's very lush and beautiful. So England is also green, but not in winter. In winter, then there's snow and so on. But here, the climate is also quite good and you've come at the right season. in the winter year when things are a little pleasant relatively. Otherwise, in the summer season, it's very humid. And one perspires a lot here in the summer season. But anyway, the sea breeze offers some relief. So because of Parshuram's actions, not only has this land come into existence above the water, but it's also become very, very fertile. So therefore, this is Parashuram Kshetra, and it's famous as Parashuram Kshetra. Incidentally, here also, there was a king who was a follower of Parashuram. His name was Ram Bhoja. He was a very pious king also. One day, in preparation for some sacrifice, when the sacrificial land was being prepared, he was plowing the land, just like King Janaka did. And that's how he found Sita, yes? And so he was also plowing the land with a plow, and accidentally he killed a snake. So that was some kind of an offense. So Parashuram told him that I think you've committed an offense, so you must perform some repentance, an act of repentance. So you should build a pedestal of silver and have these 4 corners with representations of the Nagas or the snakes. And you should donate as much gold to the needy equal to the weight of your body. Tulabhara. They still have, in South India, you have this tradition of Tulabhara. Tula means to weigh, scales, and bhar means your weight. So, for example, in many temples in South India, you will notice that rich people want to donate something to the temples, then they will sit on one scale of this huge weighing scale on one pan. And then equal to their weight, they will give gold or grains or whatever. Not gold, of course, nowadays that's not possible. But they'll give grains and some such things. Sometimes they give cloth. So, in fact, some of our devotees in our Belgaum temple, where I am based, incidentally, our deities are also Radha Gokulananda. So, during the December book marathon, some devotee had this idea, and maybe you might want to do it in the manner sometime. They have this huge scale, and as much the donor sits in one pan, and as many Bhagavad Gitas as fit in on the other one that equal to the weight of the man, then he donates that many Bhagavad Gitas for the marathon. So of course they try to look for donors who are well built and on the obese side, so they can get more Bhagavad Gitas. But anyway, so Tulabhar is quite a common thing. It happened even in Krishna Leela in Dwarka, by the way, when Krishna was wagered, and then I said, what to do? Then they said, well, you let Krishna sit here on one side of the scale and as much of gold and jewels on the other side, but it was just not matching. So the queen said, lost Krishna to Narad Muni. And finally Rukmini one saint came up and he said, okay, just put a tulsi. So they put a tulsi on the other pan, and then the weight became okay. So this idea of Tulabhar is there. So Parashuram also asked this king to do that. And therefore, after that, this place became known as Rajat Pitha Pura. Rajat means silver. Pitha means the place or the pedestal. And Pura means a town or a city, like Mayapur, Singapore. Singapore is Simhapuram actually originally. Pura means a town. So this place also became known as Rajat Pitha Pura. Before it became known as Udupi, it was called Rajat Pitha Pura. Right? And incidentally, some of you may be aware that in this region, this whole region is called Dakshin Kannada. There is a lot of emphasis here on worship of snakes, Nag Puja. And many people sometimes wonder why this tradition has been here for so many years. And it goes back to Parashurama's time. Because the snakes had a very important role in reviving the fertility of this land. And therefore they are considered the guardians and protectors of this land. But these are not ordinary snakes, as I said earlier, they're the Nagas. But at a certain point in Kali Yuga, when the Nagas, who are very evolved beings actually, they realized it's not proper for them to continue to stay on and mingle with humans. Because in Kali Yuga, the humans would become very degraded and they would cause a lot of harm to the Nagas. So the Nagas retreated to their Nagaloka. But these snakes are their, shall we say, very degraded cousins. They're kind of descendants of the Nagas, they're kind of representations. So the ordinary cobras and everything that you see here, or any snakes, are some kind of relatives of those Nagas. But the original Nagas are majestic, and they are very powerful also. And very cultured actually. Vasuki, you've heard of that, Naga. So, in any case, that's why you will find here a tradition of snake worship. I don't watch movies, but I was told recently there was a very popular movie that spoke about the culture of this land and the snake worship and all that, a Hindi Bollywood movie. But it was not like the run-of-the-mill Bollywood movies with all sorts of things, the hero and the heroine and the songs, not that kind of a movie. It was more like a devotional kind of a movie, a religious-based movie. And that talked about the culture of this place and its tradition of snake worship. So generally, when people think that snake worship is something very aboriginal, and the people who are tribals and living in the forest who are uncivilized, they think, when you think of snake worship, you think of such things. But here, if you consider the history of the Nagas and who they were, then actually we understand that it was not such an aboriginal thing as people thought. Yes? But nevertheless, that tradition continues to this day, today. And there are many places all over Udupi and in this whole stretch where you will find temples dedicated to this. So, in any case, this is Parashurama Kshetra. And now we will also see when we go to, I think you've gone there when you went to the Krishna temple yesterday. Did you also go to the Anantheshwar temple and the Chandramouleshwar temple? Two temples that are very, very close, just across the street from the main Krishna temple. We'll talk about the main Krishna temple probably when we go to Kshetra and also maybe tomorrow. But there are two other temples that are in very close proximity to the main Krishna temple in Udupi. But before we come to, so in connection with that, there are these two temples, Chandramouleshwar temple and Anantheshwar temple. And they predate the Krishna temple installed by Madhavacharya by many, many years. And it is a tradition here. And even the sannyasis of the Krishna temple, they first go for darshan to the Chandramouleshwar temple, then they go to the Anantheshwar temple, and then they come to the Krishna temple here to take darshan of Lord Krishna. So each of these three is a unique temple. And Anantheshwar temple especially is unique. And we'll talk about Anantheshwar first because it is the most ancient temple of this area, of this region, even before this place came to be known as Udupi. As I said, it is Parashurama Kshetra, then it became known as Rajatapithapura, and it was also called Shivalli because of a connection with Shiva, and we'll come to that. So this Anantheshwar temple that you visited yesterday is the most ancient temple, the oldest temple here in this region. And it's also a place from where the Shivali Brahmins live and worship. Historically, the Shivali Brahmins are a community of Brahmanas who lived here many, many years. They were brought in by Parashurama probably from different parts of the country. And Madhavacharya also was born into this community of Brahmins. Even among Brahmins, as you know, there are different types of Brahmanas. So Shiva Belli, Shiva Halli, etc. These are certain local terms for this community and for that temple also. So now this deity of Anantheshwar is very unusual, very unique. It's a combination of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. And therefore it's called Hari Hara. Hari is Vishnu, Hara is Shiva. Right? So when you go inside the temple, in the Garbhagriha or the sanctorum, you will see a Shiva Linga. So then you would naturally think this is Lord Shiva. And you're not wrong, because it is Lord Shiva. But as in most ancient temples, there is also an Utsav Murti, right? A deity that is specially meant for festivals when they take them out on a trip around the temple. It's called a Shobha Yatra, etc. But the deity that is taken out on the festival is the deity of Ananta Padmanabh. Padmanabh is Lord Vishnu, because from his navel comes a lotus on the top of which Brahma is born. And Ananta is the bedding of Lord Vishnu. He is also a Shaktyavesh Avatar, but he is Vishnu Tattva. And it is on him that Lord Vishnu reclines. In any of his forms of Vishnu, whether it is Garbhodakashayi, Kshirodakashayi, Mahavishnu also. So they reside on Ananta Shesha. So Ananta Padmanabh is the deity is taken out. So it seems like a bit of a contradiction. The deity is Shivalinga, and the deity taken out in a procession as a representation of that Shivalinga is a form of Vishnu. So there is one Acharya called Vadiraj, who was a follower of Madhavacharya. He came some generations down the line. So he has explained that actually this is a combined deity of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. There are other places in this state of Karnataka also where you have Hari Hara temples. It's not unique, but it's rather unusual. It's not very common. So, Vadiraj says that Lord Vishnu, along with Ananta, decided to reside within the Shivalinga. And the purpose that Lord Vishnu had was to demonstrate to people at large that he is residing in the heart or the soul of even Lord Shiva. That is why this combined deity exists here of Lord Anantheshwar. So Ananta refers to the carrier of Vishnu, also another name of Vishnu, because Vishnu is Ananta. Anta means end. Ananta means without end. So Lord Vishnu is Ananta, he is without end, he is eternal. And Ishwar means referring to Lord Shiva, or also refers to Vishnu. So Ananta Ishwar can be the Lord of Ananta, or it can also refer to Lord Shiva. So in this way, this is a very famous temple here. And so this was the first temple, as I said, and it is said to have been installed by that king I referred to earlier, Ram Bhoja. So Udupi has a connection not just to Lord Krishna, in fact that connection is more recent, but also to Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. So along with Anantheshwar temple, just across the road, there is Chandramouleshwar temple. Chandra is the moon. Mauli refers to the head or the crown, and Ishwar refers here to Shiva. So Chandramouleshwar refers to that Lord Shiva who has the moon, the crescent moon in his hair or on his head. Now you've all seen pictures of Lord Shiva. What have you seen in the picture of Lord Shiva in the painting? What are the features that you remember?
Snakes.
First of all, snakes around his neck. That's one thing. What else? The Rudraksha. He wears a Rudraksha around his neck and also on his arms, etc. Second thing. River Ganga that flows out from his jata. His hair is bound like a yogi in a jata, tied up in a bun on the top. And he actually held Ganga as she came down from the higher planets, because she was quite tempestuous. So she was flowing with such force that Bhagirath prayed to Lord Shiva that you please hold her and restrain her force so she doesn't sweep away the entire earth planet. So Lord Shiva is extremely powerful, so he could hold Ganga. And when Ganga tried to swirl around a lot, she was in a bit of a mischievous mood. She wanted to sweep away Lord Shiva also. So Lord Shiva then kept her confined in his jatas. And finally he had a little bit of compassion on Ganga, so he let her out. So we find a little stream, and then from that stream, then it comes to Gangotri, and from Gangotri, Ganga flows all the way down to the sea. So this is the connection. This is one of the features of Lord Shiva. What else do you see in Lord Shiva's picture? Sorry? He has the crescent moon, the half moon there. What else do you see about Lord Shiva? The trident, his Trishul. What else? His Nilakantha, his blue complexion. He is anyway blue complexioned, but particularly his neck, his throat rather, has become blue. Yes, so these are some features. But you will notice the crescent moon. The crescent moon has been popularized by some other people in recent times, in the last 1500 years, maybe 1000 years or so. But the crescent moon goes way back, actually. So what is this connection between the moon and Lord Shiva? Interesting connections, and that also has to do with Udupi here. Okay, so there's a connection. Now, one of the connections is that at the time of the Samudra Manthan, when the ocean of milk was being churned by the demons and the demigods because they wanted nectar, and incidentally Vasuki was also the churning rod, the churning rope. So many living entities or many spectacular and wonderful things came out. Lakshmi Devi emerged from that churning, and the moon also came out from that churning. What came out also was a deadly poison called halahala. And this poison was so dangerous that all the living entities in the universe become very worried, and they requested Lord Shiva to do something about it. Shiva, being very merciful to everyone, he held the poison in his cupped palms and he drank it. But he didn't drink it all the way into his stomach. He just kept it in his kantha. Kantha means the throat. And because of the effect of that poison, his throat became blue. Therefore, he's called Nilakantha. That's another name of Lord Shiva. But this poison was extremely heating. So his body became very hot. It was burning. So then the demigods offered, and Chandra himself, Chandra means the moon, offered that I can come and reside on you, so that, because the moon has a cooling effect. Yes? So then the moon began to reside on the head of Shiva. Another narration goes that when the moon emerged, everyone, because as and when things started emerging, someone or the other would take it. So when Chandra emerged from the churning of the ocean, where would he go? So then everyone thought that Lord Shiva is the only personality who will be able, who is the appropriate personality to have the Chandra, the crescent moon, as an ornament on his head, and he wouldn't get affected by the presence, by the effects of Chandra, because Chandra is a very powerful celestial entity. So that's the second reason why we find the crescent moon on Lord Shiva's head. So in any case, there's also another reason, and that is connected to Udupi. You see, the word Udupi in Sanskrit comes from two words, Udu and Pa. Udu refers to stars and Pa refers to the protector. So, who is the Lord of the stars? The moon. So in the Vedic scriptures, you'll find this many times. The moon is referred to as the Lord of the stars. So why is that? Because the moon outshines the stars by far. So Prabhupada used to say often, right? Better one moon than 1,000 stars. Meaning that even amongst his disciples, he said, I don't want so many disciples. Even if I have one moon, one pure devotee as my disciple, that is much better than having 1,000 disciples who may not be sincere or who may not be good devotees. So one moon is better than 1,000 stars. So that's a famous proverb in Sanskrit also. So in any case, the moon is called the Lord of the stars. So because the pastimes here are connected to the moon, so Udupa is the moon, so this place became known as Udupi. So what was the connection of the moon god to this place? It so happened that Chandra or Soma, the moon god, he married the 27 daughters of Daksha Prajapati. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, you've heard about Daksha. He was one of the progenitors, one who populated the universe after Brahma created it. And he gave his daughters in marriage to so many. He had many, many daughters and sons, and he gave them in marriage. So Chandra married 27 of them. And incidentally, these 27, they represent the 27 asterisms or the nakshatras in the Vedic astrology. You know the nakshatras? These asterisms. The rashis, you know, are the constellations. Right? There are 12 constellations. Correct? And there are also 27 nakshatras. So when you are born, what is important is where your nakshatra is, in which rashi, which part. Right? So when Krishna was born, it was the Rohini nakshatra that was predominant. So incidentally, Rohini was a favorite of Chandra among his 27 queens. So he started giving a lot of time and attention to Rohini, and he neglected the other 26 queens or his wives. So they became upset. So they went and complained to their father Daksha. So Daksha became angry. So he came and told Chandra, you've married my daughters, you should look after them. You know, you're partial only to one of my daughters, but what about the other 26? So please be equal to all and give attention and time to all your wives. So Chandra said yes, but he didn't follow. This continued for some time, and finally Daksha lost his temper when nothing was happening and his daughters were still unhappy. So he cursed the moon. He said, you will lose all your luster, all your shine, your effulgence, and you will become dark. Now that was a problem. If the moon were to lose his luster and his shine, that would be terrible. What kind of moon would that be? And also, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Gam avishya bhutani dharayami aham ojasa pushnami chaushadhi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. This is a verse from the Bhagavad Gita in which Krishna says, I enter into the planets and by my energy they stay in orbit within the universe. Pushnami cha aushadhihi sarvaha. Aushadhi refers to the vegetables and such vegetation. Sarva means all. Pushnami means nourish. I nourish. So Krishna says, I nourish all the vegetables and plants and trees and so on. Who nourishes? He says, I do it in the form of the Soma, or of the Chandra god, or the moon god. Somo bhutva, I become the moon. Rasatmakaha, and I give the rasa or the juice to all the vegetables and all the plants. So that, the taste of anything, it depends on the juice in it. If something has no juice, there is no taste to it. Whether it's a mango, it becomes delicious because of the rasa, because of the juice in it. Right? So similarly, the vegetables, they all have a taste. Some rasa, that's because of the juice. Now, the vegetables and all that, if they lose their rasa, because soma, the sunshine, the moonshine actually gives all the taste and the rasa to these vegetables and plants. And if the moon god loses his luster, there will be no moonshine. And if there's no moonshine, then there will be no rasa. The vegetables will not get nourished with rasa. So therefore, what are we going to eat? There will be no nourishment for the living entities on the earth. So then there was chaos everywhere. And this could not happen. So then Chandra was very much perturbed. His queens were also very perturbed. Oh, we didn't expect this to happen. We just wanted our husband to give us attention. But now look what's happened. Now there's commotion in the whole universe because of this. Now there are different narrations of what happened after this. It's called Kalpabhed. You may have different, slightly variations in the narrations. So one narration goes that the wife of Shiva, Sati, she approached the sage, I think Markandeya or somebody, and she said, please find a solution for this. So the sage said, well, it's beyond me now. So the only person who can solve this is Lord Shiva. So you all please chant the Mahamrityunjaya mantra and worship Lord Shiva. In another narration, it says that Brahma personally was approached by the moon god and his wives. And he also said the same thing, that you better go and you worship Lord Shiva. Go to Prabhas Kshetra. Prabhas is near Dwarka, where the departure pastimes of the Yadu dynasty happened, where Krishna also departed from this world. So in any case, in some narrations it is said that Chandra and his queens, they came here to this area, which we today call Udupi. And there was from where the current temple of Chandramouleshwar Krishna temple is, some distance away, there used to be at least a kind of a semi-forest which was called Abjaranya. Abja referring to lotuses and plants. So some kind of a forest. And it is said that Chandra and his queens went to that area and they performed penances there, and they chanted mantras in glorification of Lord Shiva for a long time. And finally Lord Shiva appeared. Another name of Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. Ashu means quickly. Tosh means to be satisfied. So Lord Shiva is easily satisfied if someone worships him sincerely. So Lord Shiva, being pleased, he appeared and said, okay, Chandra, what can I do for you? He said, this is my problem. he said, okay, look, I can't totally undo the curse of Daksha. Shiva had a relationship problem with Daksha also. You may know that. He had an issue with him also. Right? Later on, because Daksha was his father-in-law. He said, look, there is this dynamic here, this father-in-law, son-in-law thing, and I have issues also. So look, I can't totally just negate the curse of Daksha, but what I can do is to mitigate it substantially. So what he did is, okay, so you won't become dark all the time, but your brightness, your shine shall vary. It shall fluctuate in phases. So you will be fully bright on a certain day, and then your brightness will start reducing, diminishing, till it comes to a point when you will not be visible at all. There will be no shine. And then again your shine will increase and reach to the point of full moonshine. So then we have the night of the full moon, which is Purnima, and you have the night of the no moon or the new moon, where you can't see the moon practically, almost. So these are the phases, and then in between you have the two phases. So the time from the new moon, when you can't see the moon, leading up to the full moon is a fortnight called a Paksha in the Vedic calendar system in Sanskrit. It's called Shukla Paksha. Shukla means bright or white. So that is the waxing moon period, when the moon becomes brighter and brighter and reaches its peak at the time of the Purnima or the full moon. And then from there, the brightness of the moon starts diminishing, and that's called Krishna Paksha. Krishna means dark. So the moon starts losing its illumination, and it reaches the point of new moon or no moon. So in this way, by Lord Shiva's grace, he saved the moon from being totally devoid of illumination. And then to offer protection, he also placed the moon. He said, okay, I'll place you on my head. And that's how I will protect you. So you don't worry. So because he took the moon and placed it on his head, he's called Chandramouli. He's also called Chandrasekhar. And Ishwar referring to Shiva. So because Chandra worshipped Lord Shiva in this region, and that Lord accepted him on his head, he is Chandramouleshwar. So in commemoration of that pastime, this temple was constructed here many, many years ago, ages and ages ago. So this temple is called Chandramouleshwar temple. So this is the brief history of this temple. So you have the moon god and all that. So you see here, you have these two temples, the oldest one being the Anantheshwar temple. Then you have the Chandramouleshwar temple, which is just across. And the Anantheshwar temple and Chandramouleshwar temple, they are also, actually the Anantheshwar temple is the original one, as I mentioned. And this Chandramouleshwar is called Modu Devalaya. Modu means east. And the Anantheshwar temple is Pandu Devalaya. So the old inscriptions that you will find here in the ancient texts refer to the Anantheshwar temple as Pandu Devalaya, or they'll say Lord Shiva of Pandu Devalaya, Mahadev of Pandu Devalaya. And then here they refer to this one as Modu Devalaya. In the local language, Modu means east. So these two temples predate the Krishna temple by many, many years. This temple of Krishna, Lord Krishna here, was founded by Madhavacharya. So when we go to Pajaka Kshetra, and tomorrow as well, we'll talk about the Krishna temple and we'll talk about Pajaka Kshetra. So let's see if I've missed out any other points from my notes. So more or less, yes. So it was in this Anantheshwar temple that Madhavacharya used to teach the holy scriptures, the Vedic scriptures, to his disciples. And inside the Anantheshwar temple, there is a room, it's still there today, where he would sit on an asan or a seat, which was basically a granite slab. And he would sit there and speak to his disciples who would be sitting on the floor inside that room. And it is said that he disappeared, he performed his disappearance pastime, Madhavacharya, from that very seat as he was speaking on one of the Upanishads called the Aitareya Upanishad. Suddenly the skies opened up and there was a shower of celestial flowers, and Madhavacharya just disappeared from there. And there was nothing, all the disciples were flabbergasted and struck with wonder. What happened? Our Guru Maharaj just disappeared out into thin air. Actually, Madhavacharya transferred himself to Badrikashram to be with his Guru Vyasadeva. And he realized that time is over now for my pastimes. So even till today, that granite slab exists, but you can't go inside that room. You can see it from a little window. And you'll see nothing there. In the past, at some point, the devotees here wanted to install a deity of Madhavacharya there. But then Madhavacharya appeared in the dream of one of the pujaris and said, "Don't put anything on me." So then they understood that Madhavacharya was still there in invisible form. So have you seen that? Have you went to the Anantheshwar temple? You saw that, right?
We didn't know.
You didn't go, okay. Yeah.
We'll go again.
So this happened in the Anantheshwar temple, and the Chandramouleshwar temple is a little smaller. So when we go for darshan there, we'll go to all these three temples. And so this is a brief background about Udupi. And incidentally, one of the reasons it's called Udupi in the local language also is that it means cobra or snake. It's connected to that snake pastime. So this is a brief history about this whole region, why we are here. And the main interest for us, of course, is the Krishna temple and Madhavacharya. So after this brief background, now when we go to Pajaka Kshetra and tomorrow, we'll talk more about these topics. Hare Krishna. Shri Udupi Kshetra ki jai. Shri Krishna Mandir ki jai. He's called Bala Krishna there. Srila Madhavacharya ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. It's time for breakfast. Don't want to keep you hungry, because I know from my experience in life that a hungry person is an angry person. So we don't want you angry, we want you in a good mood. So we shall proceed for breakfast prasadam. Yes? Hare Krishna.